Welcome to Veterans Perspective, and today the topic is State of the Union 2026, which happened last night. But first, a word from our sponsor, which is our change.org petition that is still out there. We have, I believe, 37 signatures on there, which is pretty darn awesome. Thank you to all that have signed it. Remember, it is a petition for the 28th Amendment that I have written. I will leave a link down in the description. That amendment is to change the age limits, term limits, and access to investing for Congress. I've written it all out. It's all detailed on the link. If you agree with it, please feel free to sign it. If you don't have to. But it seems to be gaining a little bit of traction, so that's good. I've sent it out to all of Congress, basically, and I'll probably do it again next week. But I would like to continue to promote that on these videos and to get that out there to everyone. I will leave the link down below. It is free to sign. You can contribute to the petition monetarily if you choose to. That pushes the petition out more. I've had a few people do that. Thank you to those of you that have done that. I really appreciate that. But that is a choice. You do not need to do that to sign the petition. All right, let's get started. I have written a blog post on the Veteran Perspectives blog on Substack about the State of the Union. I just released it this morning. It is the 25th today. Today's 25th, right? And I believe I said the 26th. Today's 25th. State of the Union was the 24th, okay? So that way we don't have any discrepancies, okay? I watched the State of the Union this morning, okay? The 25th. The full unedited version on YouTube. I have it linked on the blog post at the bottom. So if you haven't watched it yet, you can. I always recommend do not watch State of the Unions after the fact on news organization websites, because they can and they have and they will edit them, okay? So the White House, YouTube page and the Congress YouTube page posts the unedited version, okay? Just food for thought. Okay, so let's talk about the State of the Union. I'm going to use the blog post as my source here. I have other sources on the blog as well, but let's get started. So President Trump delivered his 2026 State of the Union address, joint session of Congress, Tuesday, February 24th, 2026. Record-breaking 108 minutes. He stood up there for 108 minutes. Pretty good for a State of the Union, right? The speech leaned heavily into his economic optimism, the Dow being high, strict border enforcement, and peace through strength. We'll get to that, I promise. His foreign policy for the veteran community, which we will focus on because this podcast and blog is called Veteran Perspectives, right? I am a veteran. So the night featured major military honors and a few notable policy announcements. Not enough, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that. So here's a full breakdown of the 2026 agenda for the year going forward for the president. The president outlined several major goals, okay? The economy and tariffs. Trump celebrated a quote-unquote roaring economy, and it is, right? We cannot ignore that the Dow is high right now. I know when I pull up my retirement accounts, they're pretty darn high right now, but the market is cyclical. Presidents take credit and they get blamed for this all the time, so we can't attack Trump for this, right? That's you can't change the rules because you don't like him, people. That's not how it works. Sorry. I will bash you for that every single fucking time. Just get over it, okay? He did rely heavily on sweeping global tariffs. However, the courts have ruled his tariffs to be illegal. So I don't know what he was talking about there. So that I'm sure is being challenged by lawyers, the Department of Justice, all that stuff. I'm sure that's coming. Okay. Foreign policy. He highlighted military actions in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, as well as strict posture towards Iran. He spent a hot minute on Iran, and this is concerning. The United States posture towards Iran is very aggressive. Now, some would argue that Iran has asked for it, and in a lot of ways they have. They've been dicks in the Middle East for fucking decades, right? The Ayatollah Khomeini and his regime have been dicks to the United States, our allies, and to their own people for decades, okay? However, the United States engaging in open warfare with Iran, as someone who fought in the Middle East, in Iraq, that's where I fought, was in Iraq, okay? It just doesn't work there, man. And you better have a damn good fucking reason, okay? Them being assholes and them saying bad shit about you is not a reason to start dropping bombs. It's just not, okay? Preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, that's been the excuse for our involvement with Iran forever. It's why we have intelligence operations, right? Hell, go onto YouTube today and type in Iran, CIA, stopping nuclear bombs. And I bet you will find some great videos about well-known CIA operations of us stopping them, of us stopping Iran from obtaining nuclear material, including uranium and uranium-like substances, as well as stopping their reactors from working using intelligence operations. Open warfare with Iran is a bad fucking idea. It's just a bad fucking idea. Okay, don't do it, Mr. President. I'm calling it right now. I've liked a lot of your foreign policy, not all of it. If you do this, this is bad. Okay, this is bad. Do not do that. Don't do it. Okay. Immigration. Of course, he talked a lot about immigration. And of course, this is where some of the contentious crap in the Capitol chamber lied, right? Between members of Congress yelling at the president during the State of the Union. First off, your professionalism wasn't showing that. And some people are going to say, well, the time for professionalism is over. Okay, fair. That's fine. You looked really bad doing it. And we're going to talk more about that later on. I have it later on in the blog. We'll talk more about it. Cracking down on sanctuary cities and enforcing border security. Now, I have talked before on this channel in different videos about ICE and about how I agree that we need to enforce our immigration policies. I disagree with how we're enforcing it. Right? There has to be a better, more comprehensive way than just dragging people off the streets. I'm sorry, there has to be a better way. We're a better country than that, right? We're smarter than that. So. Now, with any presidential agenda, I know some of you think that Trump is a king and you do your little no kings protest because you don't read the Constitution, because we ignore social studies education in this country, and then we get mad when people don't understand how the system works. The feasibility of any presidential agenda, not just Trump's, but any presidential agenda, relies heavily on congressional cooperation. Okay? Congress makes laws. Congress funds policy. Now, is there things the president can do without Congress? Yes. Is there things Congress can do without the president? Yes. That's called checks and balances. Honestly, read the fucking Constitution. If you would like me to break it down for you, let me know. I'll make a video for you. Enforcing massive international tariffs, if they get through these legal issues, passing new domestic bills, will require navigating a deeply divided Congress. And they're divided on many, many issues, and not just Democrat, Republican, but within the parties themselves too, there is division. Okay. Pros and cons of the address itself. Economic confidence. The president is touting economic confidence, as most presidents do, and he has the receipts for this one. Okay, I'll give it to the president on this one. The speech projected immense confidence in the economy, noting that inflation has slowed to 2.4% and gas prices have dropped. The inflation thing? Maybe that number may not be completely accurate, according to multiple sources. Okay. Some military recognition I felt was a pro, obviously being a veteran. He prominently featured and honored multiple service members and veterans throughout the night, bringing military service to the forefront of the national broadcast. He does this at every State of the Union. This wasn't new. So, I mean, it was cool. It was great, right? It's nice to get that recognition. How about instead of that shit, we fix the VA? Just throwing that out there. How about instead of that, we actually have an agenda for the VA that the president actually discusses? Just throwing that out there. Some cons. I'm only doing 2 pros and 2 cons. Okay. And then we're going to fact check a little bit. Cons. Deep polarization. Shocking, I know, right? The rhetoric used during the address further inflamed partisan divides between left and right, leading to highly visible disruptions. Talking to you, Representative Green and Representative Omar. Now, I don't necessarily have an issue with Representative Green's outburst. His was in relation. He had a sign, and he spoke up and spoke out to the president posting a video of former President Obama and his wife, Michelle, as monkeys. And I'm sorry, they are African American. That is highly inappropriate. It's racist. Okay, stop fucking doing that, Mr. President. Okay, first off, there's no reason for it. Like, why are you doing that? He hasn't been president forever. Why are you doing it? Right? And if you were just being a boomer idiot and thought it was a funny ass meme and didn't understand the 2026 implications of posting African American people as monkeys, someone needs to take this man's phone away. So I didn't really mind Mr. Green's like his outburst, right? I mean, like, for lack of a better term, I'll call it an outburst. His in my opinion was warranted, right? I felt like he should have done it way before this, because this happened a month and a half ago, right? Or something like that. I could be wrong on that timeline, right? And like, I apologize if I am, but it happened a while ago, and I do not recall Representative Green being this vocal about it when it happened. And again, I could be wrong about that, right? I don't see everything. I don't know everything, right? I'm not all knowing and all being, right? And he could have picked his spot, but to wait that long to pick that spot, that would be my criticism of the outburst. Not why he did it or what he said. That didn't bother me at all. He's done stuff like this before for other reasons that I vehemently disagreed with. This one, I didn't disagree with. Did not bother me. Okay. And we'll get to more about that in a minute. Factual exaggerations. Now, every State of the Union, I want to be clear here, this is not a Trump thing, people. I know some of you guys think, on both the left and the right, that Trump is the end-all, be-all of the presidency. Right? Because you live in the moment and you forget that government exists between presidencies. Okay? Every State of the Union is fact-checked. Every president exaggerates their impact. Literally every single fucking one. I kind of wish we were back in the times where Thomas Jefferson dropped his State of the Union off as a letter to Congress and said, I'm not giving a fucking speech. Here, read this. But I get it. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Several of the economic and crime statistics lacked full context, okay, and were contradicted by current data from some sources, not all, but some sources, opening the administration up to criticism. But honestly, that happens in every State of the Union from every president since the State of the Union became a thing. So let's fact check the president. Okay, and I brought some receipts. Okay, so let's look at some of the major claims he made during the speech, fact checked against available data. Okay, and the available data that I use came from news sources. There will be bias here from the news sources. Okay, this is me being fair to you, my listeners and watchers, about my sources. Okay? Tariffs and the economy. Trump frequently claims that foreign countries pay the tariffs imposed by his administration. Okay? The economic consensus from every economist ever indicates that the vast majority of tariff costs are actually absorbed by American consumers, not foreign nations. Okay? That comes from PBS News and Al Jazeera, as well as other American economists, both in and out of the Trump administration, that consumers pay the cost of tariffs. Okay? Violent crime rates. Trump took credit for crime in Washington dropping to its lowest level ever recorded. Washington, D.C. Okay? This is misleading. Okay? While crime has decreased, it has, FBI statistics show that violent crime had already been trending downwards in the years prior to his second term. Okay, so it was already starting to slide, but it hit the big part of the slide while he was in office. Again, he's allowed to take credit for that. That doesn't bother me at all. It's just like when presidents take credit for the stock market, right? The president doesn't fucking control that. Right? Now, does what the president say and do have an impact on the stock market? Absolutely. But they don't have a button that they fucking push that says, let's make the Dow tank and everyone be poor. No, they don't do that. No. And honestly, if you think that, we need to have a very different conversation about your perspective of the presidency in this country. Border encounters. The president claimed massive success in stopping illegal immigration. Customs and Border Protection data does support a significant drop, okay, showing nearly 10,000 encounters in January 2026 compared to over 61,000 in January 2025. Now, the conflict in data here comes with, okay, well, yeah, because we're actually enforcing illegal immigration policy. Right? So now, again, I'm fine with enforcing illegal immigration policy. I disagree with how we're enforcing it. So border encounters are dropping. Does that mean the border is secure? I would argue no, the border is not secure. Some people would say, yeah, it is. Some people say we don't need a border on. And I would say you're an idiot because every country has a border. Go to Europe. I bet they have borders. Go to France. Just saying. Right? Go to Canada. Because they want to pretend like they're fucking European right now. Hey, nice silver medal, Canada. Oh, you guys only have 2 golds. Yeah, well, we won the most recent one. Also, side note, Canadians, you guys are whiny little punk asses on TikTok, and it's funny. Keep being funny, Canada. I love you. The chamber disruptions. The atmosphere in the chamber, shockingly, was highly contentious. Rather than remaining silent, several Democratic lawmakers actively disrupted the address. We knew this was coming. Okay, we already talked about Al Green. His disruption literally happened minutes into the speech. He was like, I'm doing this fucking right away. And maybe Al just wanted to go home. and he didn't want to be like all the idiot Democratic lawmakers, like, I'm not going to the State of the Union. They were all announcing it on Twitter with their little copy and paste bullshit little, I'm not going because I have better things to do. No, you don't, because you ain't doing shit, because no one in Congress does anything. So Al had a way better way to exit the State of the Union, in my opinion. A way better way to exit, because he actually, at least he stood up for a cause while he was there. So, hey, good for Representative Green, by the way, Democrat from Texas in the House. Okay. Representatives Ilhan Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, Representatives Rashida Tlaib, members of the squad. I despise these two because I just think they're worthless. Okay. As Trump criticized sanctuary cities and discussed immigration enforcement, lawmakers, including the most vocal were Omar and Tlaib, vocalized their dissent, literally yelling from their seats. There were reports of yelling and chanting from the Democratic side. Not reports. It happened. You could hear it. Okay? With several representatives eventually leaving the chamber early, storming out like children, right? Not holding up a sign and standing up for a cause like Mr. Green did, yelling like children, and then not getting their way and then storming off, basically being sent to their room for the night. What they did was I don't want to say dumb, because I don't think they're dumb people. I mean, maybe I think all of Congress is dumb, so therefore none of them are dumb because they're all on equal footing as all idiots. Okay? But there were way better ways to handle that. B, you have the power to make policy to stop that. Where's your bill? Because you haven't done shit. Literally, you have not done shit about this. So I have no sympathy for either one of those representatives at all, in any way. The president's response, the president, of course, fired back from the podium, which I thought he should not have done, because then he legitimized what they were saying. Okay? The president fired back from the podium, pointing at the dissenting lawmakers and stating, these people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy. While Republicans in Congress gave him a standing ovation. Again, they're all idiots. Now, the president should have said nothing. Should have just continued his speech, in my opinion. Okay? He could have addressed it afterwards, or he could have let the response to the response, because everyone has a fucking response, okay, handle this, okay, or let his press secretary handle this, okay, but he's got to, Trump's got to Trump, okay, and so he calls members of Congress crazy. I'm allowed to do that. I'm a citizen. I'm not the sitting president, okay. He's not, because guess what? Remember that agenda we talked about earlier on in the video? He's going to need some of those Democrats to pass some of that shit he wants to do for the rest of his term. But the president doesn't use that noggin to think about that shit. Because guess what? Not all Republicans are on his side. Okay? Now, I want to talk about the Epstein survivors. I'm not going to spend too much time on the Epstein list or things like that. I made a whole video on that. Okay. The president did not talk about this, and I thought that was terrible. Some Democratic lawmakers brought some of the survivors. I didn't see a list of their names or anything like that with them to the State of the Union, which I thought was really weird. But again, I didn't really look too much into that. I was really looking at policy, because I'd already talked about the Epstein list and my thoughts and feelings on that and what should be done, what shouldn't be done as well. The president can't ignore this forever. There are reports out there that there's a cover-up, because, of course, Democrats are saying that there's a cover-up in the Epstein list. You're telling me that Biden sat on the Epstein list and his Department of Justice sat on the Epstein list for 4 years And there was evidence in there of Trump breaking the law with abuse of a minor and they did nothing, then they're complicit too. But again, I'm of the opinion that they're all fucking pedophiles and they should all be fucking publicly hanged, however you say that, and drawn and quartered like the old days. Because they're all fucking child trafficking scumbags. Every single fucking one of them. But they're hiding and they're playing their little bullshit games with only half of the Epstein files heavily redacted released. So none of that was discussed, and that is a huge issue. Okay, that's another con of the speech itself. Now, State of the Union is not going to cover everything. Okay, it's mainly, and over the years, it's turned into a campaign speech. If the president's running again, President Trump can't run again, so it becomes an agenda for both the president and the party that he represents. That's how these speeches work. So moving into more of a veteran perspective, veterans and active duty military personnel, again, were heavily featured in this year's address. The Veteran Affairs Secretary, Doug Collins, he was actually the designated survivor for the speech. For those of you that don't know what that is, if something really bad happens and everyone dies and no one is... and they all kicked the can for some reason, and there's one dude left. Doug Collins would have been president. God help us. He spent the speech at a secure location to ensure continuity of the United States government. That's according to the AP, the Associated Press. Beyond the optics, there were major announcements and honors directly impacting the military community. The Warrior Dividend. Trump announced a one-time payment of $1,776 for every service member funded by tariff revenue. I would love to see the documentation on tariff revenue. Okay. It remains unclear if this will become a recurring bonus. It was not discussed at the State of the Union if this would be for active duty soldiers, reserves, guard, or everyone, or veterans. Medals of Honor. The president awarded the nation's highest military decoration to Chief Warrant Officer 5, Eric Slover, for his heroism during a raid in Venezuela. And to Captain E. Royce Williams, a 100-year-old Navy aviator, for his actions during a secret mission in the Korean War. Purple Hearts. Trump also awarded Purple Hearts to Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and to Army Specialist Sarah Backstrom, who was killed while on patrol near the White House. The verdict for veterans for 2026. Issues. There's issues with the VA, but the president wants to increase funding. Now, he does not control the funding. Okay? Increased funding, visible support, and direct financial bonuses like the Warrior Dividend were talked about, but they actually have to get done. Okay? However, the speech lacked detailed plans for VA modernization, VA TRICARE cost structures, or solutions for VA budget shortfalls. Remember, we could talk about all the policies we want, but until we fund them, pass them, and implement them, they are just words. Okay? Conclusion. 2026 is simply a chamber divided, and this is a clear, crucial year ahead. 2026 is a crucial year for this country and this presidency. Okay? This State of the Union, Trump's 2026 State of the Union, showcased an administration very confident in their economic trajectory. They think it's going to continue to increase, and their foreign policy is going to continue to be successful. And I hope it is. I think everyone should hope it is. If you're sitting at home right now saying, I hope this guy fails, you're wrong. Okay? It does not matter where you lean politically. You should hope that any president is successful in their agenda. You can disagree with policies and want policies changed, right? Like ICE, immigration enforcement. But economic and foreign policy, you want those to succeed because they impact all of us very positively if they are successful and very negatively if they are not successful. Okay. However, the highly visible and vocal dissent from Democratic lawmakers once again underscores the deep partisan divide that continues to happen in our government and our society, okay, that will define the rest of this legislative year. Okay, it's going to happen. For the veteran community, the outlook, I'm going to call it cautiously optimistic, but it requires vigilant oversight. Veterans, we have to continue to call our government out when they try stupid shit, okay, like they tried with this bullshit change in the CFRs, okay, when they tried to fucking change how they were going to rate us from the non-medicated state to the medicated state without taking into consideration how medication impacts the individual. Yeah, they tried to do that without public comment. So it's up to us, veterans, veteran community, and veteran supporters to continue to be vigilant and hold them accountable. Public recognition and bonuses are great. They're welcome. Okay. But it's up to us and veteran advocates to ensure that the promises made on the national stage translate to fully funded, reliable care at the VA. Period. So that is my take on the State of the Union. What is yours? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, fuck Trump. Okay, that's fair. I mean, it's not very thoughtful, though, right? Okay, did you actually watch the speech? Because I'm going to guess if you're going to come in here and just say, fuck Trump, he's stupid, you didn't even watch the speech. And if you didn't watch the speech, how are you going to keep up on what is actually happening? So I will put the link to my Substack blog in the description. Okay, you can subscribe for free. You can donate if you like. I would appreciate it. But on that article will be a video on the bottom of the unedited State of the Union speech. And if you have not watched it, I would encourage you to do so. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time.